Good evening. I'd like to call our meeting to order tonight. Thank everybody for coming out. I'd like to lead us in our prayer. And right from our prayer, we're going to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Let us pray. Gracious and Heavenly Father, thank you so much for loving us. Thank you for the men and women who've been charged to lead our city and our community. Give us wisdom and understanding to do things that are acceptable in your sight. Bless those who need your love right now and support. These things we ask. Amen. Amen. Attention, salute the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Higginbotham, call roll, please.
President Logan.
Here.
Councilman Sullivan.
Here.
Councilman Davis.
Here.
Councilman Hogg.
Here.
Give a quorum, Mr. President.
Item 5 was approval of our agenda. In our pre-meeting, we had a short agenda, so I'll make a motion to approve our agenda as printed. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Sullivan. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Higginbotham.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 6 is visitors to address our city council. We have one citizen who has formally addressed our council in the means and mechanism that's required, Mr. Joe Calvin. Come on up, Mr. Calvin. Thank you for showing up. And again, this is visitors to address. This is totally separate from public comment. Public comment's at number 13, just in case somebody was wondering. So, how you doing, Mr. Calvin?
I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Logan. I'm going to be quick and brief. I'm not here to complain, argue. I don't have no issues with the city, so we're good. Just to let everybody know, I'm just here to introduce myself. For those that don't know, I am Joe Calvin. I am running for Tuscaloosa County Board of Education District 3 this coming election. As we all know, you know, I did a lot of deliberating, thinking, praying, and, you know, decided I'd make this run. I think it's time, you know, our county system, in my opinion, we have a lot of issues in our school systems. Not just currently the schools in the city of Northport, the entire school system throughout the county, probably throughout the state. You know, there's financial issues. But it really gets down to our district, District 3, which does encompass a large area of Northport, as well as up north of us, the north side. You know, our community, the people, we've all heard them. They have issues. They've been crying out for somebody just to hear them out, listen to the problems. I feel like they don't get listened to. So, you know, being a part of this community, the schools, all my children have went to the schools here in Northport, from Riverside, Bossa Vestavia Elementary to County High. One's still currently in, the other two graduated. But being involved with the parents, the community, football boosters, president, you know, you see a lot of the inner workings of these schools and where they went from, say, 15 years ago to today. And being involved there, I'm not seeing progress made in the schools. I mean, it's almost a decrease from academics to perhaps athletics to even just school behavior amongst kids, students, teachers. It's almost like we've lost a lot of pride in this community, in these schools. At one time in Northport, you know, County High that was a name everybody knew. But it's fading off for some reason. And you know, so I'm just, you know, I'm one man going to go downtown and try. I'm not there to argue with you or fight the county board. You know, you're going to have to go down, I'm going to listen and hear them out. I don't know everything they have, why they've done some of the things they've chose to do. But I think, you know, we're going to all have to work together, and being work together is going to be me, the county board, are going to learn to work together representing this district as well as the whole county. But also, the people of this community are going to have to work with us. And I'm hoping the city of Northport, you know, I'd like to be able to come talk to the city of Northport. Say, here's where we're at. Here's why we got to do what we got to do. You know, what are your thoughts on it? Because actually, you know, let's face it, the schools in this community, in this city, affect this city dramatically. You know, there's a lot of people want to differentiate the two, and they are two different organizations or governmental groups. But let's face it, I know when I grew up, schools dictated your city, your community. It makes a world of difference. You know, if you got great schools, you're gonna have a great city, great community, great neighborhoods. When your schools start declining, everything falls behind it and declines also. I don't want to see that happen here. I'm not sure I can go to the county and make a change. I can't, you know, wave a wand and we're all financially going to be stable again. We all know where that's at. Most people have a good idea of where they are financially. Not good. It's going to take time to build it back, but we're all going to need to work together to get there. You know, so I really think what we need is, as a county board member, as well as being able to come here and communicate with the city on the county board where we're at, I want to be out in the community with the parents, with these students. I don't see that happening anymore with the board. It's almost like decisions are made, but there's no answers to the people of why. You know, all they're asking for, you know, in most cases and everything, like, just be honest with them, be truthful with the people. They elect you, so, you know, when they want to ask a question, don't turn away from them. I mean, just be honest with them and answer it. You know, I always think you just, you know, do the right thing and be honest with people. Whether it's something they agree on totally, if you'll explain it thoroughly to them, that they have an understanding then. We're left with people in this community who don't have an understanding right now. They don't know why this school's being built and not this school's being built, because it doesn't get explained to them other than, well, there was an overcrowding issue. Well, we've had overcrowding issues for years everywhere, so I mean, they'll just use that as an excuse. I'm pretty sure there's some underlying other reasons why these things happen. So I just want to go forward and go, you know, if elected, just be honest with the people, you know, tell them where they stand, you know, there's nothing to hide. You know, I see no reason as a board member of the county system to hide it. And I really feel the county board should work tightly in a group situation with the city of Northport. Because let's face it, the majority of their schools are in the city of Northport. I mean, we should partner together to work together, no matter what the terms are or what people say about school systems, counties versus cities. They all have pluses and they all have negatives, you know, so I'm not going to get into that. I've been asked several times what my thought is on a city school system, and I'm not going to give them that answer. It's because I'm running for the county board is what I tell them. County school system. I'm there to work to make it as best as it can be. We've got to get back to having a little bit more, not just parent and community involvement and honesty, but we need to start setting our standards higher. You know, we're stuck on this last 10 years of average. We're average. Why in the world do we want to be average? Set our standards higher. Be better. I mean, whether it's academically or athletically, we have the students and children in these communities and parents that we can achieve more than what we're achieving. There is no doubt in my mind. You know, I did see the state scoring grades this year on the systems. I think Tuscaloosa city system and county system were neck and neck, 72, 73 for a state average. What 73 might be a point off, given that they don't have it in front of it. Some people say, well, that's passing. Well, is passing good enough? I don't think it's good enough. You know, that's, once again, we're setting our standards too low. Set them as high as you can. Set the bar up here. Let's strive to get here as a county system. What do we need? What do our administrators need? What do our teachers need? What do our coaches need? Let's address these issues instead of just turning from them. Because currently, I think that's what they're doing. And for some odd reason, especially when it comes to this side of the river, it just seems to always be year after year, this side of the river seems to get neglected. Now, whether it be at County High, North Side, Riverside, which I'm in agreement with most people, that is really something got to be done. You know, we find these millions to build schools, but that one never gets mentioned. It just gets bypassed, it gets walked right around. So, once again, I just appreciate y'all's time. I'm just here, you know, to let y'all know where I stand. Hope to work with each of you and that we can work as a team. Because what's good for the county system can be good for Northport. What's good for Northport can be good for us if we'll all work together to find some common ground. You know, I know where we need to be on this side of the river. I'm not saying we need to be getting more than a Sitsy Valley, a Holt, a Brookwood, a Hillcrest. I'm just saying they need to look upon us as we are part of this group. We're part of the Tuscaloosa County system. You know, and I tell everybody all the time, we have a 7A high school in the city of Northport, 32 of them in the state. One of them's right here. Right here, we have one of the top 32 biggest schools in the state. Carries the name of the Tuscaloosa County school system. It ought to be their flagship. They ought to be promoting it. It ought to be doing everything they can, not just the county, but us on this side of the river should do everything we can to promote it to be that flagship school for the state of Alabama and to represent Northport. Even though it's, once again, a county system, it is in the city. And, you know, when people look at these schools, they think of Northport. They don't think of the Tuscaloosa County system. If you're moving to Northport, the first thing you look at, what kind of schools is in there? Where's my kids going? I mean, people look at those things. I know I would. If I was starting over with young kids, that's where I'd be looking. What's the schools like? You know, so I own businesses, whatever it may be. I'm big into thinking that academic school is going to make a decision. Am I going to open a business or company in this town and have my workers live there and their kids go to school there? So I think it changes a lot of things when we have premier schools. I mean, I think it's been shown everywhere. So hopefully we can get there. It's going to take time. This is not, I tell everybody, this is not something we're all going to elect somebody and 1 year it's all better. That's not happening. It's going to take a long time to get things to where they need to be. I mean, let's face the financials, which is not a great thing for the county system right now. Got some decisions they're making right now that probably in the best interest of a lot of us here, but we'll see where it goes. With that being said, I just want to appreciate y'all letting me talk and speak tonight. Mayor Aaron, council members, Mr. Higginbotham, thank y'all very much, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Good luck, and we know you've always been a supporter of Northport especially, so we hope to see you representing us.
Thank you.
Item 7 is a second reading of an ordinance for conditional use Lot 1 Union Station. Mr. Stevens.
Yes, sir. This is for conditional use of a office warehouse at Lot 1 Union Station, the cul-de-sac off of Union Chapel Road. It received favorable recommendation from the planning commission. Last I heard, I believe it's a spec building, doesn't have a tenant unless that's changed. Okay.
All right, thank you, Scott. And I guess, Ron, by ordinance, we have to open the floor for a public hearing?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is anybody, I'll open the floor for a public hearing, so if there's anybody here wanted to speak for or against the agenda item regarding 7A2, conditional use Lot 1 Union Station. All right, I'll close the floor. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance granting the conditional use approval for an office warehouse at Lot 1 Union Station?
Move to approve.
That's a motion by Councilman Sullivan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hogg. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Higginbotham.
Councilman Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Second item is a second reading of an ordinance for the conditional use of Lot 2 Union Station. Mr. Stevens.
Yes, sir. This is for conditional use of a mini storage or mini warehouse immediately adjacent to Lot 1. It's actually Lot 2R of Union Station, and it received favorable recommendation from the planning commission.
All right. By virtue of ordinance, we have to open the floor for a public hearing, so I hereby open the floor. Is there any member of the public wanted to speak for or against the conditional use request? All right, hearing none, I will close the floor. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance granting the conditional use approval for a mini warehouse at Lot 2 Union Station?
Move to approve.
That's a motion by Councilman Sullivan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Higginbotham.
Councilman Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 3 is the second reading of an ordinance ordering the demolition of an unsafe structure located at 5121 Northwood Lake Drive West. Mr. Stevens.
Yes, sir. This is the second reading to demolish or tear down this house at 5121 Northwood Lake Drive West. As discussed at the work pre-meeting, we get to hear any feedback from the property owner unless there's someone here who wants to speak on that. I did just hear from a planning commission member right before the meeting that he does have a family, so we may talk some more so we can get a hold of him. And we'd like to some alternative means to try to contact them, just to make sure everyone is aware prior to going through this.
Okay. All right. I guess also too, by virtue of ordinance, we have to open the floor for a public hearing. Is that right, Ron?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll open the floor for a public hearing regarding this agenda item. Is there any member of the public wanted to speak on behalf of the demolition requests? Come on up, folks. Please state your name and address for the record.
William Now, I live at 5217 Northwood Lake Drive West. If the ordinance goes on and passes, does the property turn over to Northport? Or just the demolition? How do you do it?
Yes, sir. Ron and Scott, you guys can chime in, I think, but let's say council approves this, and then we go through with the demolition. Of course, we'll have to bid it out by ordinance, and then once it's bidded out, I think we'll put a lien against the property. Is that right, Ron?
That's correct. The property would still be owned by
Yeah.
the property owners. The city would have a lien for the cost of demolishing the house.
I mean, I just wondered if there's any way somebody could buy the house as is
Well,
from the city of Northport.
all right, so you want the city to buy it?
Well, no, I thought maybe the property had to turn over to the city.
Oh, okay, yes, sir.
To be able to do what you're gonna do.
No, sir. In this case, like Mr. Davis was explaining, house gets torn down, we will simply put a lien on the cost for demolition, and of course, we'll tie it back to the property owner, but that's pretty much it. Once the house is torn down, then we would still do some perpetual maintenance, because now you may have the possibility for an overgrown lot. So,
You got that right.
you know, so I hope that
Okay,
answers.
No, I just wondered if there was any way, if somebody wanted to buy the house, if it's fixable. In
I
other
would-
words, dealing with y'all, I mean, another person dealing with y'all, you got nothing to do with it.
No, sir. I think if you wanted to try to contact the owners, which we've tried at length, I think staff's done a really effective job trying to contact the owner through normal channels, and just with no luck. So if you feel like you want to purchase that house, but
You know, I had somebody that was interested in it, and I told him I'd come here and I'd ask.
from the pictures, it looks like it need a little work, a lot of
Hey,
work.
it's been that way for years.
Yes, sir.
It's a shame they let it get like that. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record.
Kate Holden, 3010 Natchez Landing Court. I live in Northwood Lake subdivision, right down from this house. This house has been in this situation for numerous years, beyond 5. It's been abandoned. We'd just like to know, I have a little bit of personal information I found out about the home and the homeowner. I have to check the validity of it, but he has kept up his mortgage payment, he has kept up his property tax payment. However, from what I understand through hearsay, is he doesn't want the home.
Okay.
He's going to let it be foreclosed
Yeah.
on. So this could drag out for yet another year to 2 years. So with that, can we have a deadline from the city, possibly at the next council meeting, on when we'll resolve this and condemn it?
Yes, ma'am. Before you leave, Ms. Holden, can you get that information, once you determine the validity as far as the contact for the owner, maybe to Mr. Stevens' office? And I think at the end of the day, if the owner is still paying mortgage, but the house is in almost disrepair, I'm assuming I hadn't been there physically, but looking at the pictures, it's in pretty bad shape.
It is.
And
And I think at one time we had squatters at some point.
mhm,
So with that, we don't want that to happen again either.
mhm.
So, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mr. President, here's what I would ask. Make sure all that information gets to Scott. Let him, unless council disagrees, and I would say, if you're not able to come up with anything by the following meeting, our next meeting, then add it back. If anybody has an objection with that, at least try to contact the owner.
All right, so, well, first, is there anyone else here to speak? I know we've got our public hearing still open. Is there anyone here to speak for this particular item? Okay. I'll hereby close the public hearing. All right, so now I think Councilman Sullivan had a couple ideas in trying to move the process forward, maybe give it a couple weeks with Mrs. Holden's new information she may have to maybe get to staff. And Councilman Davis, I don't know if you wanted to
kind of chime in what you think you may want to do regarding the demo.
Well, I know that this piece of property, either needs to be repaired or demoed, but I would like to find one other means of communication, you know, other than a certified letter, because a lot of times, certified letters have to be signed for, so, you know, just a letter and maybe some information that Ms. Holden has, get in touch with them and let's do something, next council meeting.
All right, so is it the wishes of council maybe to table this particular item for 2 weeks, or to allow staff to kind of communicate through other channels, right? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. Council, okay. All right. We've closed the public hearing. I will, Councilman Davis, unless you just want to make that particular note for public record regarding how you want to handle that as far as tabling it.
Yeah, I just want to table it until we get more information on the situation, on the property owners, and form some line of communication with them other than what we've done so far. So.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Davis, do you want this to be on the agenda of the next council meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that way we don't have to re-advertise.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. New business. Is 881 is the first reading of an ordinance amending the Northport Code to allow a one-time move for tattoo parlors. Mr. Stevens.
Yes, sir. As the council may know, in 2013, the council passed an ordinance regulating certain businesses, among them tattoo shops and parlors. It put a limit on their location to be C6 zone, McFarland Boulevard essentially, and it granted existing ones a one-time move, not us, or without limited by the density limits. Right now, they have to be 3,000 feet away. There's been some additional discussion about allowing some of the current tattoo shops that are on Lurleen Boulevard, there's 2 of them right now, to be able to move within that C3 zone just on Lurleen as well on C6. It limits or gives them existing parlors, only 3 in the entire city right now. 2 on McFarland and 1 on McFarland, 2 on Lurleen, and this would give the ones on Lurleen a move on Lurleen or back in C6.
All right. So really, even without this proposed change or language change, they're allowed a one-time move, correct? Anyway, inside their same zone.
No, they're allowed a one-time move onto McFarland C6
Okay.
zone, notwithstanding the density bar.
Okay. All right. And I think council has reviewed some of the language you and our legal department have been working on regarding it. And I think there was a request in our pre-meeting to suspend the rules to consider it immediately, Ron. And again, just for public purposes, can we get just a whitewashed kind of quickly as far as tattoo density language? I know it was pretty lengthy, but can you give us?
Yes, the bottom line is that this does strengthen our ordinance. It allows a one-time move in a particular area along Lurleen Wallace. And so by allowing this move, it would in effect extend the radius to include the 2 shopping centers, which would prevent another tattoo parlor from coming in on the two shopping centers at the intersection of 82 and 69.
All right, thank you.
And we certainly have no reason not to suspend the rules. I think we've made it as tight as we possibly can to allow this one move to happen. And it broadened the protected area along Lurleen Wallace as well.
Thank you, Ron. Is there a motion to suspend the rules in order to immediately consider the amending the Northport City Code pertaining to the one-time move for tattoo parlors?
I'll make that motion.
That's a motion by Councilman Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Sullivan. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Higginbotham.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Sullivan?
Yes.
President Logan?
Yes.
President Hall?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Or is there a motion to adopt the text amendment with rules being suspended? Is there a motion to adopt the text amendment to the regulated businesses and the ordinances allowing tattoo parlors at one-time move within their current zones?
Make that motion.
That's a motion by Councilman Hogg. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Higginbotham.
Councilman Hogg,
Yes.
Councilman Davis,
Yes.
President Logan,
Yes.
Councilman Sullivan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
82 is a first reading of a resolution accepting maintenance for municipal public improvements on sidewalks in Hidden Meadows, Phase 4. Mr. Webb.
Yes, President Logan, this is for the sidewalks at Hidden Meadows Phase 4, is the newest section of the subdivision. They completed, been inspected, and ready for city acceptance.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to, excuse me, is that first reading? So I guess anybody want to offer that up for a first reading?
I'll offer that.
That's offered up by Councilman Hogg. AB1 is a resolution amending our general fund budget. Mr. Higginbotham.
Yes, sir. As we discussed earlier, this involves both the general fund budget and secondly, you'll be also looking at the water and sanitary sewer budget. A little bit of background again. What we have done over the past few weeks is look at amending your current budget that you approved for the fiscal year 2018. The main reason that we wanted to amend the budget was kind of a twofold thing. The first reason was because we had certain items that were either going to underrun significantly or overrun a little bit, and the overruns were really items that were geared toward repairs and things of that nature. We went in and did that. The second reason that we wanted to look at amending the budget was we were kind of holding off on making capital purchases because we were a little up in the air on what our communication requirements were going to be as we move forward with the E911 Center. That was in the tune of really several $100,000 maybe, so we were working through the requirements that we'd be putting forth on that. That number was finalized a couple of weeks ago, so we were able to move forward and look at items for purchase throughout your 2018 budget that was previously approved. Bottom line, your original budget on general fund was $20,993,587.83. The amendment to the budget that we are asking you to consider tonight is $21,419,544.38. What this includes is approximately $469,000 in capital purchases. Just as a reminder to you, it's on the back page of your information. These are items toward public works such as mowers that we need there, police as far as motorcycles, vehicles, certain items for the fire department. Of course, the E911 Center is included in this. That ended up being $68,600. That may move a little, but it's approximately $70,000. So all of these items are included for your consideration on approving the amendment to the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Higginbotham. Is there a member, I know Councilman Sullivan, I know you're Chairman of Finance, I don't know if you wanted to add on to what Mr. Higginbotham wanted to present.
No, I mean, I think y'all felt comfortable in the pre-meeting, other than, you know, your total numbers, 21 million is based on 9 months, not 12. So I always remind you guys of that. Again, we'll start the 19 budget here very, very quick. So other than that, I appreciate April and Bruce working, all the department heads for their input, and it's a good budget. Looking forward to finishing up the next one.
Good deal. Is there a motion to adopt a resolution approving our general fund budget amendment 18-01 regarding the reallocation and distribution of the currently budgeted items?
Move to approve.
That's a motion by Councilman Sullivan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hogg. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Higginbotham.
Councilman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Hogg?
Yes.
President Logan?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Second item is a resolution amending our water and wastewater fund budget. Mr. Higginbotham.
Yes, sir. This is generally following the same description I gave to you before for the general fund. I do want to point out for both of the budgets, we are, although we're amending them, if you look at what we projected last year for what we are doing, we're generally where we thought we would be, and that's good news. So that's something for you to consider. Looking at the water and sewer budget, your original budget that you looked at was $7,630,417.21. The proposed budget with the amendments that you will be looking at tonight, then the reallocations is $7,443,847.66. So in reality, the budget actually went down a little. We went ahead and lowered some items that we were definitely going under budget on, so that's good news. The capital purchase that we're making for water and sewer is 5 water meter trucks. It's $100,000. This will replace all the trucks that we're currently using, and they are all in desperate need of repair. So this is good news.
Very good. Decreasing that budget on an amendment. Saying something. It's very good. Is there a motion to adopt a resolution approving our water and wastewater budget amendment 18-01 regarding the reallocation of course distribution of the currently budgeted items?
Move to approve, Mr. President.
That's a motion by Councilman Sullivan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Higginbotham.
Councilman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
President Logan?
Yes.
Councilman Hogg?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Consent agenda. Item C is 16 items. They range from minutes for the previous meeting, bill listings, travel and training, and of course our PO requisition for economic incentive through Northport Corners. This is one that's been on the books for quite some time, and it's a semi-annual payment. So again, is there a motion to approve our consent agenda as printed? I'll make that form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Higginbotham.
President Logan?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Hogg?
Yes.
Motion carries, Mr. President.
Item 9, reports of special committees to council. If any member of council or the mayor's office wanted to update us on our respective committees they represent. All right. Item 10, public hearings other than the ones we had by virtue of resolution requests. We have none on the agenda. Item 11, city administrator's business, Mr. Higginbotham.
No, sir, I have no business.
Item 12, departmental business. We have one out of our legal department, Mr. Davis, claim number 18-58.
Yes, Mr. President, the Claims Committee recommends payment of this claim in the amount of $832.03. The city crews were mowing the median and they hit a rock and it damaged a door of a vehicle. This is the lowest of 3 estimates for repair that damage. So we recommend payment. But it's coming to council only because it's over $500.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion to approve that claim 18-58 in the amount of $832.03?
Move to approve.
That's a motion by Councilman Hogg. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Sullivan. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Higginbotham.
Councilman Hogg?
Yes.
Councilman Sullivan?
Yes.
President Logan?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 13 is public comment. We have a few citizens signed to speak. I'll start, and I think Mr. Newell, I think you actually, did you want to speak again, or if you wanted, I know you're on the,
Yes,
please come forward and state your name and address for the record again.
my name is William Now. I live at 5217 Northwood Lake Drive West. Ordinances. Are there any penalties for people who break an ordinance more than once? I mean, you know, is it just a slap on the wrist or a letter to them and that's it? If they keep doing it, if they do it again?
I guess it depends on the ordinance, and I know I'm speaking from the layperson position, Ron. I mean, speeding ordinance, I guess you would get a ticket.
This is letting silt run into Northwood Lake.
Okay. That's a little different.
It happened, I'm not sure exactly when. Do you keep records of this?
We do normally.
When they are reported and stuff?
Yes, sir. Normally what we do, and again, I don't want to speak out of turn from staff, but normally what happens is when, let's say, somebody does construction or something, our engineering staff, of course, plan to get together, and there's some permitting, some other things that person needed to do
through city channels to get approval to even put the silt fence down, and our staff will keep up with that particular piece of property in terms of, let's say silt fence falls down
Yeah.
indirectly, not intentionally. So that's something where we'll come in and staff will work with that property owner to kind of make the needed adjustments to it. I think that's what you're asking.
Well, yes, but see, I'm not sure exactly when it happened. Mr. McKinney was the ordinance guy back then.
Mhm.
This guy, he's got about a 45, 50 degree slope to the lake. He went in there and dug it all up and stuff. Next thing you knew, we had rain and it washed in the lake.
Yeah, I think
I reported it, and Mr. McKinney got him straightened out about what he should have done. But you put one there. In other words, he should have got a permit to do what he did to the back of his property, tear it
Well,
up like it, and
based on what you're saying to me, and I know our staff department head, Mr. Stevens, kind of gave me an update on it right before our meeting today. Our code enforcement officer, I know Officer McKinney's probably not our code enforcement officer now. That's right, and they did go out and they did notice that, so I think they're working with the property owner now to get that squared away.
yeah, but I mean, he knew better because he done got in trouble. Well, I say in trouble, he got before, and then he turned right around and did the same thing.
Yes, sir.
He didn't put the fence in properly or anything. So that's why I say, should he have called the engineering department to come and, look at it and say, yes, that's what you're supposed to do, put it 6 inches.
Well, that would help. That would help, I guess, the communication of it. And of course, our code enforcement officer in his office would go by and make those type checks. So,
Yeah.
but we'll definitely. And again, if I've got the address of our planning department, so they're going to look into it. This was brought to our attention right before we got to our meeting here, so they're going to look into that.
All right, and one other thing, could we get a yield sign changed to a stop sign? Is there something you have to do? I don't know if you've ever been on Northwood Lake Drive West, but it V's once you get around the fingers, it'll V off to the right. People coming off that hill have right of way. And most of the time, they're doing 35, 40 miles an hour when they get down to the bottom of that hill. I think that should be a 3-way stop instead of a yield. I mean, you want to slow people up Northwood Lake anyway because they drive like a bunch of idiots. No, hey, I'm serious. They do. And it's like I asked the officer, I wish somebody on the board would call the county bus drivers, boss, and ask them if they would tell the Northwood Lake Drive bus drivers 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. I hate to say it, but they're just as bad as some of the people that drive out there.
I know where you're talking about,
And
Northwood Lake Drive.
Hey, I
There used to
stopped,
be 2 stop signs there and a yield
Yeah.
sign at one time.
Yeah.
We'll check into it.
Because I stopped, because like I say, somebody doing 50 miles an hour, if you don't look to make sure they're coming off that hill, they'll hit you. And I think there's been several wrecks there. All right, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next citizen is Mr. Tim Beasley. Thank you, Mr. Beasley. Please state your name and address for the record.
Tim Beasley, and I live at 5605 Clearbrook Drive, which is in the Buckhead subdivision. I want to thank the council for allowing me a chance to speak. First, I want to tell you that I just appreciate all the work that Holly does in engineering, trying to help me with a problem I got, and I've been talking to Mr. Hogg also. The problem I got is I've lived in Buckhead at the same house for 32 years. I got a letter from my mortgage company the first week of June that I had been putting the floods on. Now, if somebody can tell me where the water's coming from or what would cause a flood where I live, I more or less got a ditch behind my house instead of a creek. That water don't, when we had all the rain out there at the university, rained 5, 6 inches, you could still put your son's shoes on and walk down that ditch. So there's no water there. So what I'm trying to get the city to do, and it's what my engineer told me, done a survey, is to get the city to do a base flood elevation study to where he can do his reading. My engineer tells me that the city needs to do it,
and the city's telling me that the engineer needs to do it. You know, and I do appreciate the city keeping that grass cut back there, and I know it, you know, it does run in between quite a while, but, cause I kept that ditch cut for 20 years, every other week, on account of keeping it from growing up, but, and Councilman Hogg knows that flood insurance on a homeowner is about $3,000 a year on top of your other policy. And luckily, they want full replacement value of your house, but luckily with mine through Alabama One, all they want is the total value of what your loan is. So I'm not down but about $1,500, but I got neighbors living around me that's paying an extra $3,000 a year for flood insurance.
They put you in the highest zone.
That's what I'm saying, and I'm trying to figure out why I'm in a zone A when there's no water there. I know several years ago, before Walmart was built, there was a flood elevation study done, and that flood boundary was moved to the ditch that runs north and south in Buckhead where the circle is when you turn in there. Well, the engineer told me as long as you pass 500 foot away from that flood boundary, then you shouldn't be affected. But on the east side of Harper Road, when you come in, where all that backwater comes in there from Mill Creek, which it don't never cross Harper Road because it's just backwater and it's clogged up there, so I don't never have no water in that ditch. I've got it pulled up on my Google map on my phone now, and I can show you a picture of the ditch. It's more dirt than what it is anything. And even if it does come a heavy rain, that ditch has got this gray mud in it, and the water just soaks down in it, so there's no water there. So I guess what I'm asking the city, can we get some help out there to do a base flood elevation and talk to FEMA? Or, I don't know who to contact. I've tried to do what I can to get us out of that base flood elevation. They tell me that that room on the back of my house, the flood line runs right through there, and they say that if any part of that water or that flood zone touches your property, then you're automatically considered in a flood zone A. But it don't, the flood line, from what my surveyor told me, don't cover the whole house. Well, I don't feel like my whole house should be in flood zone A if it ain't gonna flood the whole thing. And then I read on the internet where FEMA says that the average homeowner's insurance is $700 a year. If somebody can find me something for $700 a year, I'd be glad to purchase it. So
They don't tell you it's in flood, in zone A, I can tell you that, maybe it's zone X, but.
well, I'm just saying, you know, I'd like some help from the city because it's not, there's no water in the ditch. And Mr. Marshall over there can tell you, he's lived across the road from me. There's no water in that ditch.
I think Bruce, and when Mr. Beasley was speaking to staff, of course, their staff is basically saying that he needs to list a base elevation on the certificate, on the flood certificate, and his professional guy that's doing this for him has stated the city needs to request that. So we've got the back and forth of responsibility of who's supposed to do that. So I think that's where Mr. Beasley is trying to get some answers, is exactly where we need to go with this and who's going to be responsible for doing that, and just trying to figure out where he needs to go next. But
well, the engineers tell me that the city should do the base flood elevation for him to do his survey on because the ditch belongs to the city of Northport. So that's where he's coming from with that, you know. And he said he couldn't do it till Northport established a base flood elevation.
and you have to have that on your elevation certificate to get the.
Well, he has to have that base flood elevation to determine if it could actually be lowered in the flood zone, is my understanding, to get it out of that flood zone A. Now, that's the worst you can get right there.
So now we've got a professional engineer that works for you saying, hey, that's a city responsibility.
That's
and of
right,
course,
yes,
I don't recall us ever doing that, Ron. I don't know if we, because if we, that would mean we would have to start establishing base flood elevation for every single area in the city that's got, you know, if you're inside of that flood zone area. So I don't, and that one, Mr. Beasley, I remember some other residents, maybe in other areas of the city, that had to get a surveyor and an engineer out to shoot an elevation at the, I guess at the slab, I'm assuming. I think that's the way it works. And they apply for a LOA, what is that called?
It's LOMA or something.
LOMA, okay.
But I can't get my surveyor to do that because he said you don't have that base flood elevation.
Well, again, I
See what I'm
don't,
saying?
yes, sir, I understand. I just was under the impression that the surveyor goes out and they shoots an elevation at your slab, maybe front door, and that's your set elevation. And that's part of the
But
logo.
he's set elevation for his survey for his house, but he's said, he's trying to establish a base flood elevation, I guess, on what a base flood would be compared to what the elevation on my house is. I don't know how it works.
Yes, sir. I would
There's
almost.
no water in the ditch.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Higginbotham, but I'm almost under the impression that that would be a professional service that your engineer would have to set that standard, set that elevation.
And he and I have played phone tag.
Oh, I know, you can't get up with it.
Quite a few times, so I'm still continuing to try every day to.
All right, appreciate your time, thank you.
Thank you.
But can you just give us the name? I don't know what he's using, but if not, let me know.
I've got his office number and his cell number.
Okay, that way we can talk to him.
Because he also worked for AlDOT. He's got this surveying business more or less on the side.
Well,
Jamie Alters who it is.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We'll get
Okay.
staff to contact him and maybe see if we can.
Thank you.
And
Give him a
Mr. Beasley,
direction.
I'll be talking to you tomorrow.
Okay, appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next citizen is Ms. Kate Holden. Ms. Holden, good to see you again. Please
Thank
state your
you.
name and address for the record.
Kay Holden, 3010 Natchez Landing Court, Northwood Lake. I want to thank you all for letting me come out here and be before you today. We've already discussed this, it's already come up, but something I want to say is I am Vice President on Northwood Lake Board, and unfortunately, Rodney and Robbie, you got some unhappy people out here. The main reason seems to be, now I've only been on the board since March, but my dad was on that board for over 25 years off and on, just up until 4 years ago. With that, the biggest thing I'm hearing right now is Union Chapel. They're running Dove Creek. They're even running the signs within Northwood Lake Drive East, Northwood Lake Drive West. I have 6 specific intersections that is getting run on a constant basis. What we're asking for is speed tables. Can you give us a presence out there so y'all can find out what we're gonna do? Because we have to do something for somebody gets hurt, especially a child. I went out on the board, we purchased 8 signs that just said, please slow down, drive like your kids live here. Put them out, it did help, people are tapping the brakes, but they're not gonna tap those brakes for long. I'm gonna go ahead and erect a sign on private property, private sign, that says school bus loading and unloading at the top of Union Chapel between Joshua and Kennebec. Because there's a woman that lives there with a child that gets on and off the bus, and she said she doesn't know how many times she's seen cars skid to a stop behind the school bus. And she doesn't, her granddaughter's starting to school this year and will be living there. So I went to Lieutenant Marks and I asked, is it legal for me to put up a private sign on private property that says school bus loading, unloading? He said, well, it's not enforceable. And I said, well, nobody's enforcing the speed limit out there right now, so I just want to tap on the brakes. If we can just get people to tap those brakes. So with that, what we're asking is, can we get a police presence out there to do a study, or whatever we have to do to either get a table on Union Chapel or to get additional signage? You tell me what my next step is, because if I need to get petitions, we already have a woman working on a petition. We hope to have 300 to 500 signatures. What else can I do to help you? Because you want your voters happy. So, and I'm trying to make this neighborhood happy, and Lord knows I'm finding out your job is tough. Because I've only got 762 residents. You guys got a lot more than that. But I am talking to people, and I'm communicating, and I'm writing down intersections, and I'm trying my best. And I don't have any skin in the game. I don't have a child, but I feel like I should fight for since I'm on the board. So tell me what I can do to help you.
Can you give me a list of those intersections that you're talking about? I'll get with you after this meeting. I know that I have spoke in the projects committee meeting in the past about 4-way stops at Northwood Lake Drive West and Union Chapel and also East, but I think we have a problem, where the problem comes in is Collector, it's Collector Road, right? Mr. Powell, and I don't know legalities of, putting up, four-ways or stop signs at collector roads, but,
Oh, I see what you're saying, collector road, it's, because it is a cut through. Yes, I don't know if we can slow that down, because people, because it is cut through, they fly, and you know that. And so, and then it's even more confusing, because, if you're going towards 43, I think it's 35, and if you're coming back, it's 25. And the signs are within a block of each other, just facing different directions. So our biggest concern is at the top, where Joshua and Kennebec are on Union Chapel, and at Dove Creek. And of course, you guys did put up a pedestrian crossing at the pool, and I know my father worked very hard to get that put in several years ago, and it does help as they're going through during pool season, because they see the activity. So I'll meet with you afterwards?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Let us know this intersection. I know on my end of it, we've had police presence there quite a bit. I don't think we've been over there recently, but we've had that issue for a while. When they go out, they do slow down. They write a lot of tickets.
Well, they write a lot of tickets, and I hear a lot of things about we don't have money. Well, if we can put an officer out there for what? If they make that kind of money in 2 weeks, they're telling us they're writing 80 to 90 tickets in 2 weeks. What can we get if we leave an officer out there for a
We just
while?
bought 3 new motorcycles.
So with that's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying all my money went there. I'm saying.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean,
Motorcycles.
if we have to,
Yeah, that $469,000, how much we get?
you all are well aware, if we put a couple of policemen on Union Chapel, and if we start enforcing some of the code enforcements, it's just as far as weed control out in Northwood Lake, I'm sure we could start, I'm an accountant, tax accountant. We could start a whole new revenue stream for Northport. So with that, because that's what I'm looking at. I look at more than one side. I know I'm going to cost you money, but let me find out where I'm going to get your money. So with that, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next citizen signed to speak is Mr. Frederick Gay. Thank you, Mr. Gay. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Frederick Gay. I live at 10431 Jones Road. I'm one of the representative spokesman for Jones Road. And I'm here to ask you guys about, I'm inquiring about the update or any information about the paving of Jones Road. Is there anything you still need to inquire about, or what's the status of it?
Okay, where's Jones Road at? Sometime back, I think the last time we sprayed that road, I think it was that company's last time spraying. I know it keeps down the dust. And we lost that. Did we lose that contractor, Mr. Owens?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we've been searching for another company to spray. What's it called, Mr. Owens? Calcium chloride to keep the dust down. As far as the roads, we've got a couple of, we got one of the roads that's a dirt road in the city, and we have to look at that as far as capital improvements. That's I don't think there's any grants or anything like that. Just paved roads, so we had to budget for things like that. I know I spoke to several of them back a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I know I've got the petition for all the right of ways too. I still got it. So
That's what I want to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gay. Next citizen is Mr. Jody Jobson. Thank you, Mr. Jobson. Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Jody Jobson, 1534 Bellwood Lane, Northport, Alabama. And believe it or not, I'm not here to complain to y'all. I'm here to ask for your help. Mr. Calvin has pointed out a lot of things, and I know the council and the mayor have seen a lot of things in these schools. You've heard it until you're sick. Well, all you gotta do is 3 of you get in the truck and drive down to Matthews and Riverside, and you'll take a more active involvement. It's pathetic. It's deplorable that we're sending our kids to a school that the toilets don't flush, and that the health department closes for a week because nobody knows where the plumbing is. The lines. They're scared to rot it because of the lines. Now, I went on my own and I saw it.
and talk to people. The janitors, the teachers. The air conditioning units are up overhead high with all the cooling headed towards the door. And they have to open their doors to cool the hallways so the kids can tolerate, if they can. If one of those air conditioners goes out, they're gonna burn up. It's just that hot. There are water fountains being held on the wall by 2x4s as legs. If you go upstairs, they had 3 toilets in the girls' bathroom, 3 toilets in the boys' bathroom on both floors at that school that was stopped up before school was out, and the County Board of Education just sent the plumbers over there 2 weeks ago to fix them. But yet they held SEW, they held summer programs and everything else. And we're sitting here worrying about petty things. I got a grandchild. He doesn't go to those schools. Unfortunately, he goes up to Huntington and places. Nobody has to put up with that. It's down here. And I imagine because of all the flip-flop and the threatening that was done in the past about Northport pulling out and forming their own system has a lot to do with why we're being pushed back and pushed back. Well, we can't afford a school system, so we need to join forces with the county. But the county's got a blind eye right now. They're not going to open it until y'all see the conditions. And the citizens of Northport join together and say, hey, I don't want my kid down there. Now, I'm a granddaddy, and I'll be at the front of the line. But if you tour those buildings, you'll come away with there and wonder why in the world those buildings are still open and trying to teach our children an education. I don't think you could sit, Rodney might, because he's used to the lumber up there, but I don't think many of you can sit out there in 100-degree heat index from 8 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon and survive it. So you take time and you go down there and you talk and you look at those 2 schools, and then let's Northport join together and get something done. Sipsey Valley, congratulations, you got a new school. They deserve it. Hope got one. They deserve it. It's our turn. It's the kids' turn. My turn's over. It's the kids' turn. And if we don't do something, somebody's going to get hurt down there. Do you want your kid going? My understanding is the county board had 2 plumbers for 34 schools. One of them quit, went to the city of Tuscaloosa, or the city board of education. Now we have 1 plumber that covers 34 schools. So how many times do you think if Matthews or Riverside has a problem, that one man is going to make it down there? By the time he makes it down there and leaves, he's going to come back, but he's going to have to go through 33 more schools in order to get back. So I'm just asking that the council get together, get the citizens. There's citizens here that will fight for those schools. There's citizens here that will help. But the county board, they've got a deaf eye. They got a deaf ear, and they don't want to see it. So let's open their eyes and open their ears, and let's Northport get some schools down here that can teach every one of our kids instead of just a few. Thank you for your time and letting me speak.
Thank you, Jody. I guess you keep forgetting I grew up down there. You're about 20 years short. I went to that school, so I'm gonna tell you. Yeah, Rodney went to that school, so I mean, well, we kind of know the conditions, and it's almost like, and again, I said this last meeting, and I'm gonna be brief. The mayor's office kind of, she got behind the wheel and hit the gas and didn't stop, and we basically went to the board as far as you could take it. I mean, we have just kind of done as much as we could from that standpoint. And I agree. I mean, until the community as a whole says, you know what, until we all grow, the city won't grow. So when every aspect of the city is not growing, it's a black eye and it's a sore spot. So I agree 100%. You preaching to the choir with me. I mean, I know the conditions, know them well. Know the families down there, know them well, know the parents down there well. And believe it or not, even in those conditions, they still perform about as well as the other schools. So again, I could get on the soapbox, but I'm not. Our next citizen signed to speak is Mr. Ray Glenn.
I'm Ray Glenn, 6700 Barnes-Selma Road, and I'm here about schools as usual. Jody's right, and he's not exaggerating. We're in the contracting business, and we're in a lot of schools. Been in a lot of city schools, brand new schools here recently, and one of them is North Ridge Middle School, and I couldn't help but get a little mad every time I went in there. Boy, it's nice. My granddaughter, she's in first class that's going there. And she went there the other day. She called me. She said, "Granddaddy, it's nice. Oh, it's so big. It's so nice." I said, "I guess you feel important now, don't you?" She said, "I sure do." How do you think those kids feel when they walk in Matthews, those little children, or walk in Riverside? How do they feel? We ought to get ashamed that we're letting this happen. And we're letting it happen. We ought to be beating on some doors. Now, we got on a little while back, but when I saw that picture in the Gazette of that fine 5th, 6th grade school that's going to go up there when they promised the middle school, I got mad again. It's not what was promised. And what's happening up there is bad. But what's happening south of town, as Joe says, down on the lower end is worse. And we've sat back and let it happen. Now, I'm going to defend the county board a little bit, but not much. They borrowed $90 million based on future revenue that they can't borrow money again for 20 years. They can't build us any new schools. That school, that 5-6, they turned into a 5-6 from what was supposed to be a middle school and promised to be a middle school, is being built because it's cheap. Not because it's better, it's because they're saving $5 million. And I noticed in the article that it said, well, it can also be converted into a middle school. Yeah, but guess what's going to happen when we ask for that to be done? They're going to say, have you got the money to do it? Folks, I'm tired of Northport putting money in the county schools, and we got what we got at Riverside. Let's not leave out Crestmont. It's not much better. We have the 3 oldest schools in Tuscaloosa County right now. There's been 8 schools built in Tuscaloosa County since our last school, which was Northport Elementary. And we have 90% of the growth. Explain that to me. And that's by the county board's own study. They paid to have the study and then didn't do what the study said do. Now, we got a man running, Joe Calvin, who has already addressed the council. And he was vetted because there's a group of us in Northport said this is not ever going to happen in Northport again, where we have no board members that will stand up and fight for our kids. And that's exactly what happened. I don't care who you are. That's what happened. Joe, stand up and fight. Only thing is, it's 6-1. 6 of them, 1 of them. 2 years, we're going to have another board member, and I promise you it will be somebody that will stand up and fight. That's 4 years down the road. And folks, we don't have 4 years. Here's what's happening. We're being in the construction business. We're in every new house that's built in this county, near. We get to know the homeowners. We find out why they moved where they did, what they like about that area. Just this past week, Clear Creek, lady, we met with her. She said, we're going out to City Valley. We're not going to have this middle school stuff. The week before, These folks had 13 acres of Mid-Larry Road. Guess where they're going? They're going to the towns. Never did I think, and they didn't think, when they bought that land, Mid-Larry, that they would be leaving there. They were going to be there for life. They are not going to put up with the schools being the way they are. It's not fair to those children either, when they can look at a new school being built and then have to get on the bus and go south of town. No more than it's fair for those children down there to get on the bus and travel up to 43 and 69. It's already a mess. What kind of mess is it going to be when we start busing kids back and forth? You know, what happened, Mayor, what happened to that transportation study we were going to get that the county board was going to do and tell us how they were going to save some money by making it 5-6? Have any of y'all seen that? You won't? Because I have a feeling it didn't show any money was going to be saved when you start paying that fuel back and forth, busing children from one end to the other, simply because they ran out of money. That's exactly what happened. They ran out of money. And we were the last ones on the list. Again, exactly. We need to do something. And nothing's going to happen until we do something. And you know, we've looked at a city school system, and yes, it would be expensive. But if the county has no more money, we need 4 schools in Northport right now. We need Riverside replaced. We need Matthews replaced. We need Crestmont replaced. We need an elementary school up on the upper end where the growth is. And we need a middle school. That's actually 5. We're not going to get that. County don't have the money to do that. They have borrowed every dollar they can borrow. So it leaves us. And we can either stand up and fight, or we can do this, talk about it. But I think they don't believe we'll form our own school system, and frankly, that was not, I fought against that for a long time. But we got problems, and I don't see solutions at this point, even if they want to do it. They don't have any money. And it's kind of it happens throughout the state. And when we had a consultant come in, he said, we've seen this all over, and this is why cities form their own system. The counties simply do not have the money that cities can generate. And Tuscaloosa County is one of the lowest in Alabama as far as per pupil money that they get from the state. Again, I'm defending them a little bit on that. We don't have any money in the county. But we should find a way to fix things like Jay's talked about and Joey's talked about. Y'all, it's embarrassing. My granddaughter, when I was told that they were going to go to city schools, I said, no, let's keep it in the county. But do you know that Northridge High School now has higher test scores than Northside does? Never thought that would happen. But it happened. And you're not hearing from a lot of people, but the ones that can afford to move, they're quietly moving out. Northside's getting them. Even the city's getting them. And guess what the city has? They have a middle school, high school, and elementary school lined up right there together, where those parents can make one trip and get all of it. And we could have that up there. What's promised there? But to run out of money. So now they're going to bus our kids. And I guarantee you, we're going to lose a bunch of people. It's already happening. And if we don't fight, it's going to continue to happen. I appreciate you listening to me, Mayor Aaron. I didn't address you properly, Mr. President.
No, that's fine, Ray. I'm just listening and writing because, again, I hope, and Mayor, if you want to chime in, I'm agreeing 100%. My only thing is, and I have to make this statement, I have seen us as a community pack this thing out for less things. Does that make sense what I'm saying? If I say I'm going to stop cutting grass downtown Northport, I will have 1,000 people in here. But when it comes to just the things that I know that's important, Joe, you touched on it a little bit, but you didn't drill down. I just feel like that sometimes we as a community, we're not at large and engaged and fired up like we need to be. And these are one of these things where this is a thing where, again, it'll go over like a lead balloon, and we've done it as a council where we've had the engaging meetings with the school board, we've wrote letters, we've sat down with them, tore their data apart from A to Z, shown them where it wouldn't work, and now you see that, again, 90 million sounds like a lot, but when you know that you're only going to put X into a community that gives you Y, that community is going to come up short. But I make this point. As a parent of a kid that goes to Crestmont and got family members and folks in my district that go to Riverside and Matthews, they are the 3 oldest schools in the county, by far. Riverside, I guess my mother graduated from high school when it was a high school, pre-integration. So, saying that, I just want our community to, if we're really serious about it, let's start engaging the school board. Because again, we will be the glove from the administrative standpoint, but the hammer needs to come from the citizens. Because I always hear people harping on, it's all about the citizens. Well, this is where we're literally telling you, we will help you, but we have got to have that push, that community push. Because again, I think if I make the statement, I will stop cutting grass downtown Northport, it will be 1,000 people up here. And that's kind of where that same kind of fever and kind of ferocity needs to come into play with this measure. But again, I think this council, unlike any time else, have just really, we told them our 2 cents. And as a parent, I see it, and I see that 20-year decision that they made. Not only is it going to educationally hinder our kids, in my opinion, but I think from a growth standpoint in our city, I can have the best planning director in here, Mr. Stevens. Wouldn't you agree? It hinders us, not putting you on the spot, but when you have these things that are not communicated correctly as a group, it hinders your city from growing. Man, can you imagine having 2 brand new schools in a great location, community-wide, where Riverside and Matthews, move them, and let's open up for a nicer Northport when you come in. But if you got a school board that's got their agenda, it's hard to change that unless the citizens start beating that drum, beating that drum, beating that drum. Best drum major I've seen is Joe Johnson with it. Joe, I'm gonna challenge you. Beat that drum. Go get your drum out the closet and start beating it. So now, if we're really serious about it, let's start getting groups together and engage the school board, because it's going to take that, really. And I know, Ray, you said you were against the school system when we had that big meeting. That's something that the citizens really have to drive, because nobody on this board is going to say, hey, we're going to start a school system. Because if you don't move that needle one way or the other, especially to the positive, it'll be for nothing. So I agree 100%. I just think school board has kind of put us in a corner, a 20-year non-growth, stunted growth corner. And how we respond to it, we as a community, you all 25,046 of us, man, woman, child, doesn't matter what color, what race, whatever. Everybody needs to kind of beat that same drum. So, Ray, I agree with you. It's just, now we got to start putting some stuff together if we're really serious about it, everybody. So that's my 2 cents.
I agree. Let me say one more thing about Joe. When we vetted him, you usually can find something bad on everybody. I'd hate to be vetted myself. He was the athletic booster at County High for a number of years, and I couldn't find, or nobody else could find, one thing bad about him. It bothers me a little bit. He truly is a good guy.
He runs the chains at County High. He did a good job on Friday nights with me. He never messed up.
Yeah.
When I said, what down is it? He said, it's first down, always at County High.
That's what I'm talking about.
First and 10, always.
Thank you, Council. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick. All right, item 14 is mayor and council members' business. Under my business, I spoke enough on the school board issue, other than, I'll say it again for the record, Matthews and Riverside are the 2 oldest schools in the county school system. And once that new school gets built, then you're going to start seeing, in my opinion, you're going to start seeing some upset, concerned people coming and saying, wait a minute, this looks like this, but what about this part? And now the city council is going to have to try to step in when it's clearly a school board issue, and I think they need to be re-engaged. But it's got to be by the citizens too, and we're going to be right there with you. We'll be the glove, but the hammer's going to be the citizens. I'm telling you. And if y'all come in mass like that, I promise you something will be done when it's driven by y'all. But that's my 2 cents on the school system. Groundbreaking. We had a really, really good month of July. I think Mayor Aaron has really, she's kind of quarterbacking this great partnership between Habitat for Humanity, the Buckalter Growth Group, and of course the City of Northport, in bringing a Habitat home to the City of Northport. In 15 years, we hadn't had one, and Whitney and the mayor kind of got with Ms. Ellen Potts and Ms. Kathy Carnes and High Socks for Hope, and we are actually in the process of bringing a Habitat home to the City of Northport. We've got a groundbreaking August the 14th at 10 a.m. It's on site. It's at 3425 21st Street. So if you know where Crestmeadow Elementary is, you just go down that same street, go west. It's a vacant lot to your left, and the property has been given to Habitat free and clear from the Buckalter Group. Kathy and her folks, High Socks for Hope they've already raised all the money for it. So what I'm asking now is for everybody to come out August the 14th, 2018 at 10 a.m. But one request that I'm going to ask council is what they are requesting from Habitat is to try to offset some of the costs, because we're going to have a disabled Navy vet kind of stay there. So that's going to be a big treat, but I know everything has a cost, and they've asked the council to consider waiving a few items regarding some of the building aspects of it. And again, in our pre-meeting, I asked Ron in his office about some of the aspects of it, and we actually have found a pathway to do it, minus the couple things that legally we just can't get around, and Mayor Aaron is going to pitch in on that one. And the fiscal impact that they're asking for is $3,257 even. Now what that constitutes is basically the tap fee, the water development fee, and the sewer development fee. The tap fee is $550. The water development fee is $1,254, and the sewer development is $1,453. And Mayor Aaron's office will take care of the rest of it, which is the building fee of $408 and the erosion settlement control fee of $100. So again, we've been asked by Ms. Ellen Potts and Habitat to waive the 3 major fees for a total of $3,257. And again, this will go as an in-kind gift from the city to this nonprofit, so they can kind of get started pretty quick. They're going to try to do a blitz bill, but they're not pretty sure. So you'll probably see this house November, maybe. I think what Ellen was saying. So it's great for the community. I'm glad that they asked us to kind of take part in it. So again, Ron, I'm going to make a motion, if council will consider it, to approve the resolution request from Ellen Potts of Habitat for Humanity, deferring the water and the sewer development fees and the tap fee for a total of $3,257.00. And again, this is for the Habitat for Humanity home being constructed at 3425 24th Street. So that is in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Higginbotham.
Councilman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Hall?
Yes.
Motion carries.
That's all the business I have. District 3, Councilman Sullivan.
I don't know what you haven't covered yet. Just want to say thank you to Joe. Hope you're ready. Appreciate your willingness to serve right there with you. So good luck to you. Speaking of schools, everybody knows we go back to school on Wednesday. Had the open house for my first grader. Wow, first grader this year. So looking forward to that. Just hope everybody has a good school year. Watch for buses and children. Stay safe, and looking forward to a good year. That's all.
All right. District 4, Councilman Davis.
Yes, President Logan, I don't know what else I can say after what Mr. Johnson, Mr. Glenn, and Mr. Calvin said on the school systems. It's an issue, it's a concern of mine, every issue they brought to the podium tonight. I fully support what they have said 100%, and best of luck to you, Mr. Calvin. I'll support you 100% too on your campaign. Good luck.
District 5, Councilman Hall.
Yes, in terms of talking about the school system, I have to say I do agree with Jody Ray. Jay brings up a very good point, though. I mean, it's easy for us to come in here and address the city council, but why are the masses not acting? addressing the Board of Education. Why are we not constantly, as parents and as community members, why are we not constantly in their face at all times promoting Northport? And I think that's the question that Jay was trying to drill down to is we can talk, but until we get basically the law of large numbers, get these people packing out the Board of Education meetings every week, addressing them every single week with what we feel about Northport and how Northport has been treated. It goes back to the simple statement of squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I do think that that's going to have to happen in order if you partner with the County Board of Education, or two, if you want to look at a feasibility study of a city school system. Either way, it's going to have to be controlled by the people. And there's not a person up here, mayor, council, that is not 100% behind the children of Northport. So any of us can always address our concerns with the County Board of Education, but there's only just a handful of people up here. If we get a lot of people that's constantly beating that drum, I think we might see some changes because of, like I said, squeaky wheel gets the grease. Another side note that I wanted to mention today is Mayor Aaron's anniversary, and I wanted to tell her and Sonny happy anniversary, and I'm sorry our meeting has lasted so long. I know y'all got things to do tonight. So, Bruce, I did want to make one other point. Last council meeting, I had made a motion regarding paving for each district. I wanted to follow up on that to kind of get an idea of what kind of timeline we are discussing in order to get that bidded out and we actually start seeing some pavement on some roads.
We're actually moving on that. We do need to discuss District 1 some, because currently do not have a councilman in District 1. I would fully expect to be able to do something on this at the next project's meeting, which I'm not sure the date on that. Are you, Councilman?
Second Monday in September.
Okay. So it should be ready to go.
Is there any way to speed that up? By the time we bid and mobilize, we're going to be getting closer into the late fall. And
anything past October, you deal with wet weather.
And we can look at it from the projects committee standpoint, see about moving that up.
I just think if we're doing this, I think we need to kind of put that on the forefront. And then my last issue was, of course, District 1 council seat. I'd just like to encourage anyone that has an interest in this position to notify Bruce's office, the mayor's office, any one of the councilmen, I guess. I think we've had one or two that have emailed us with that wanted to be considered for this. Of course, we hate to have to go through with this again, but it's just something we have to do. So if there is anyone, make it known. We need to do something quick. But I'll say once again that District 1 has been in good hands. I know the mayor has stepped up a lot with District 1. I've had a few phone calls and emails regarding projects and different things in that district, and I'm sure every other councilman has too. So just because there's not someone sitting up here does not mean that district is not getting the attention or someone trying to oversee that as well.
Jody and I have a weekly meeting.
Amen.
But that's all I wanted to say.
Mary Aaron.
I'm not gonna vote for school business again. Talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. I think everybody knows me, knows my position. And I think Jody has a good idea about going down to city school. My thing is, what I would do is load some of those board members up on the school bus, haul their, what's down there, along with some parents, children in that building, and they can go through that building themselves and see exactly what those children have to live with. us going down there and seeing it and reporting it back to them is not gonna water off the duck's back. They're not paying any attention to us, they haven't yet. But I'd load those board members up and say, you come see this. You live in this for a day. Let them go to school the first day of school with those children. That's all I have. I'm not gonna get on a soapbox.
Yes, ma'am. Happy anniversary. Ron, I think we had an executive session. That was a request. Is that right? So we'll move that to item 15. So what did we go into pre-meeting as far as what we think that time frame may be? Because this is regarding sale of possible city property. Action may or may not be taken when we come back in. So do we have a time frame?
You let me do it no longer than 10 to 15 minutes.
All right. Can we say 15 minutes executive session? All right. Floor is open for someone to make a motion to go into executive session for no more than 15 minutes to discuss possible sale of city property.
I'll make that motion.
All right, that's a motion by Councilman Hogg. I will second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Higginbotham.
Councilman Hogg?
Yes.
President Logan?
Yes.
Councilman Sullivan? Yes. Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Motion carries. We're in executive session. Is there anybody have anything for staff, or are y'all okay with them going home?
No vote. Staff.